Hello, everyone, and
Hello.
welcome to another episode of How
How
Black is Black.
Nice to be in space with you, Cherie,
Nice to be in space with you too, Mertkab.
and everybody else that's listening and supporting our podcast.
Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. Today, we have what we think is a really interesting topic for you all, which is what's the topic?
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Decision making fatigue.
Yes.
Decision making
100%.
fatigue. Okay, y'all give me a second to take these bracelets off because y'all probably hearing them jingling in your ears.
Decision making fatigue, I think, is a real thing that so many of us maybe don't talk about because
We're expected to make decisions.
100% of the time,
Yes.
in all realms of our life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And because we make such important decisions on a daily basis, we're required to by nature of the positions that we hold.
Yeah.
The simple decisions are the ones that are the hardest to make.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think about it even through other roles that I have outside of this role that I share with you in leading our state coalition is another role I have is as a parent, right? A parent to a young adult. And over the years, right, I recognize the type of decisions I've made in terms of my parenting have been different. And you would think as my son is getting older, seemingly maybe easier, but it's not so much an easy decision or hard decision, but the amount of decisions, the number of decisions that I'm making even as a parent, to some point where I sit and I feel like a sense of guilt, because we've spent the whole day making these decisions in our workspace, that when I go home, it's this feeling of, I want to hang out, but I don't want to do the planning for how we're going to make that happen or any of those things. What are we going to eat? What are we going to do for social things? Which day are we doing our laundry? Like all of this becomes so much more fatiguing than I think it should be.
Yes. This is so true. So yesterday, I have a simple decision to make. What style would I like my hair to be in?
Oh, yeah.
It was a really simple decision to be made. Should have been simple, right?
Yeah.
And it got to the point I said, I don't, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Is it clean? Is it presentable?
Only two requirements.
Two requirements.
Yes.
I need to be able to go to work
Yeah.
and function in life. But other than that,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think that hard about that
Yeah.
because I'm already thinking hard about other decisions. It's a Sunday, but I have to plan for the rest of my work week.
Yeah.
Right? And I have all of these other major decisions that have to be made. And this little bitty decision, it just will not, I can't allow myself to make it. It feels like such a heavy weight that can be lifted by someone else who isn't making these type of decisions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned, having to make decisions around your son and things. And I think as our children age, it's the complexity of the decision that changes.
Yeah.
And the meaning behind the decision.
The impact, right?
Yes.
Consequences of decisions. Yeah. I mean, and that alone would be, it's almost as though if that were the only space I had to help make a decision, or, if I were partnered or any of these other things, being part of a community, being part of a family, it's this constant decision making, right? If it were a singular, realm of our life that we had to make decisions, I don't know. I think it would be more tolerable for me. It just seems like in every step. And it's also these unseen, right, and unthought of decisions of, hey, I have to go somewhere What is the safest route for me? What is the best route for me? I have to be in a space. How am I going to be perceived? How am I going to conduct myself? How are others going to conduct themselves? So the decision of, while you said, what style is your hair, it's not just even the style, right? It's what is that style? What might that style convey to people, or the perception of that style for people?
Yes.
That also is in the decision-making sort of factor, right? What do we wear today? Today, we both, it's very hot today, but, we both have on, things that help us stay cool, like sundresses and things like that. But the perception of, is this okay in every space? While it should be, the reality is that we are very keenly aware, because of the identities that we hold, of perceptions that people have of us as leaders and
Yeah.
parents and partners and everything else.
Yeah, the light, easy decisions aren't so light and easy,
Yeah,
and they are fatiguing.
yeah,
And, to your point, when you are getting up every single day and you're making a decision and you have to think about how this decision is going to impact my ability to move through the world in the least scathed matter, right? And I say least because every day there's an ism, there's a
Yeah.
microaggression or something. And, that alone is tiring. But then you're trying to navigate and trying to minimize the impact of those things
yeah,
with the decisions that you're making.
Yeah.
You mentioned your driving route, there's so many different routes that I can take to get here.
yeah,
The most direct route is sometimes my least favorite route, because also being on the highway that amount of time increases the risk for accidents, right? It just does. It's just a stat, right? The more
Yeah.
time that you spend driving, right? That's why I'll never get those great insurance rates.
Is that the only reason, Cherie?
It is. Don't tell on else. Shh, and leave it right there. And so, that's a decision, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very measured decision, because also, while it can be the least safest, it's also the safest because it's the most direct
Right,
and the most
Time.
populous.
right.
And the
Shortest time.
Yes, all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm glad you shared that, because, and maybe, I tried to think and justify, like you said, oh, these smaller decisions should be the easiest, but they're not. And I want to share that, a couple of weeks ago, I sat down and I started questioning my own, like, what is happening? Because it's a question of, are we having grilled salmon? Are we having grilled tuna for dinner? And I almost felt like, it's salmon or tuna, Markab. Why is this so difficult?
Yeah.
And it's when I paused and I said, okay, from the time you woke up, when even the decision to wake up, what time, and all of that, until now, it's been decision after decision after decision. And some of the decisions we make are not necessarily, do you want a fork or a knife type of decision. It is decisions that impact survivors. It impacts so many people. It impacts communities. It impacts the future, the present, right? So
Yes.
it's they weigh heavy, right? And that's part of our job and responsibility, but it doesn't take away the challenges of that feeling, right? And then the questioning and making sure that, yes, I made that decision. I'm confident that I made that decision. Still, even if it's the best decision, it might impact somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that contributes to the high turnover rate in these positions.
Yeah.
Not only are you navigating just the work itself and making those decisions, but you're living a whole complete life outside of here
Yeah.
and making decisions.
Yeah.
And then there are times where those two things intersect,
Yeah.
and that makes it additionally hard when your life and your work are coming together, and not in an informational way,
Yeah.
and you're having to make decisions around disclosures and who you can trust and who's going to support you and all of those things. And you just are still in a position of deciding,
Yeah.
of making a decision. And sometimes you just want to not do it.
Yeah.
And to not be expected to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know when we walk into the building or when we log into our computer, we're expected to make decisions, cool, bet. But we make so many of them all the time
Yeah.
that it would be helpful if there were a way for someone, some entity, some being,
The mystery being.
I'm just
okay.
saying, right, to intervene and lighten the load.
Right.
I mean, I imagine like this beautiful wand or something
Yeah.
in the sky.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, Mirka Ben Shri, today I got you. You don't have to make,
the wand.
we don't have to make any decisions. Somebody else is going to make
Yeah,
all the
that would be
decisions.
nice.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Yeah. And how do we say that, right? Without appearing or seeming to people that we are obtuse to our privilege, right? That because it is a privilege, right, to be in that position of making a decision. And that's not, I don't think that is definitely not what we're trying to convey or relay, right? We're just trying to say that the reality is that even leaders feel this weight of decision making, and it's often maybe narrated in so many spaces as like this, oh, it's fantastic because it comes with all this power. And yeah, sometimes it's great to have the privilege and the power to make a decision, and many times it also comes with this other part of it that we're talking about, right? The fatigue and the uncertainty and all of these other things. So
Yes, because what we're talking about with this fatigue is the inability to rest.
yeah,
When you're
Speak it, 'cause
constantly
that's
making
it.
decisions,
Oh yeah,
you're not getting a chance to rest.
yeah,
And we deserve to rest as well.
right,
And also, I will speak for myself here. People who know that I'm a decision maker at work expect me to be a decision maker outside of work.
yeah. I
Right.
agree. That I feel the same way too. In my home, right, in my
Yes.
personal life, but also in other,
In
because
other
outside of our
areas,
leadership,
yes.
we also volunteer and we're engaged in community.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It automatically comes with you, and yeah, unless you say, "Hey, no, like this space, I'm not the decision maker."
Yes. Someone else can make that decision in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think, sure, you and I talk about it, but particularly from the angle of accountability to one another, right? And support for one another. We also have the fantastic privilege of being co-leaders. So we have that built-in partnership, right? And we're definitely have a privilege of feeling less isolated in our leadership decisions. We make joint decisions. Sometimes in the way we work, we also make separate decisions. But I'm wondering if over the years there have been some things that you have found helpful in. I don't think we can totally eliminate it, but in easing it or making it more manageable, this decision fatigue thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's helpful to actually say it out loud
Yeah.
and to have it be acknowledged as a real thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, when I can say to you, I'm fatigued from making decisions
Yeah.
and not have that be an indictment on my ability to do things, right? It's
Yeah.
not, you're not receiving it and giving me back judgment,
Yeah.
right? You're like, I hear you and I understand that. And navigating that space together of what kind of decisions are we talking about? Like, where can I lend support in lifting some of that,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's just really listening and acknowledging that it's a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when no one will acknowledge that it's real.
Yeah.
When it just feels like you're trying to avoid responsibility.
Yeah, or it's perceived as avoiding responsibility,
Yes.
or also the irresponsibility. Like, I also don't want to be irresponsible as a leader and give someone a decision making ability for something really they have.
It's not in their purview.
It's not in their purview. They don't have enough information to
Yes.
make a decision, and they really should not be responsible for that. So I think part of the conversation is very practically, right? As leaders, when we are talking about decision making, it's that clarity when we tell someone or ask someone and say, hey, this is actually within your wheelhouse. Like, you can make this decision. I don't need to know it.
Now that is helpful right there, right? In the
Yeah.
decision-making fatigue is being able to delegate,
Yeah.
because some people don't know how to delegate. They
Yeah.
have to do every single thing. And I mean, that is the fastest way to burn yourself out, because none of us can be everything to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And it actually helps with team building when you're delegating those things that are in their purview to do, to allow them to do them. It's a healthy
Yeah.
muscle for them to build. And it's a healthy muscle for you to be able to rest when you can.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no way. I mean, I can't sing, I can't tell folks enough about, we have a fantastic team. And one of the things we practice doing is delegating, right? And when we're looking at a process, identifying who is responsible for what piece, and at what point do we become involved in the decision making. Otherwise, there's a great level of trust
Yes.
that you have to have with coworkers or colleagues or people you supervise or lead, the decisions they make are that you're going to be okay with it, even if it's not the decision that you would have made.
And we have to be honest with ourselves. A
Yes.
lot of the times it's not going to be the decision that we would have made,
Yeah.
because they're different people.
Yeah.
And so their process of arriving to a solution is going to look different. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's a bad decision. It's just a different one.
Right. And so there's a level of, also as leaders, some acceptance that when we delegate, we're delegating the whole thing. We're not delegating to say, unless that you specifically say, I'm delegating, but you need to do it in this certain way, then we also have, as leaders, need to step back and be accountable for, may not have been how I would have done it, but it's okay because it got done. Right?
Yes.
So it's a lot of work, also some internal work that I think a lot of leaders should step into, because it's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily apples to apples, right? When you delegate in your work life, then you can make more decisions in your personal life. I don't necessarily think that is a true thing. I think it's an exercise you have to do in all realms of your life.
Agreed. And I wish
Yeah.
people could see me over here shaking my head, because no, it is not an apples for apple or
Yeah.
orange to orange. It is different. And, all of those different areas have to be measured when
Yeah.
you're looking at the decision making, because also each of our lives look different.
Right.
And so our ability to delegate or to share the load looks
Yeah.
different too.
Yeah. I have a friend who's lovely, and we've been friends for a long, long time. And something similar came up, and this is not, our careers are nowhere near one another, but on the personal end, we were able to talk. And one of the things that she pointed out is both the culture, right, and just all the ists and isms that exist. She feels a lot of pressure to make decisions as a woman identifying person of, this is your decision to make, right? And most of those decisions are, the meal planning and the household chores and the things like that. And
What I love to call the domestic duties.
the domestic duties, which she doesn't hate, but it's this, something she has had to unlearn, even, for herself, around, hey, these are shared duties, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I with whomever, and it's about the conversation of, okay, what does decision making fatigue look like? And also, how does she also remain empowered? Because there's some decisions she should make for herself, right? That or at least have the option to make if she wants. And those also should not be taken away from her, right? In the name of, oh, I'm trying to help. So, don't make a decision about our finances. I'll make those. And you make the quote unquote easy decisions about the menu, right? So it's a nuanced, complicated topic, but one that I think we should be having more of with one another.
We definitely should, because as you were speaking, I had a moment where I was like, dang, do I do that sometime? With the decision-making fatigue, right? And I think about, like, if I'm asking someone to make a decision about something and they're routinely not making a decision, I'm not considering that maybe they have decision-making fatigue, right? And so now I'm like, I already know what you're going to say. I'm just going to make the decision.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so then it takes away that person's ability to make a decision.
Yeah.
Even if you think you know, you may not know this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a hard one, because all of these things require communication too.
Right.
Right. If you are experiencing this fatigue, this decision-making fatigue, articulating it is important for people to know and to understand and to support.
Right. And it can be happening, going back to the work side of it, it can be happening at all levels of your organization, right? It's not necessarily only happening in positions where folks are leaders and making leadership decisions. Everybody, think of any role. Folks are making decisions, many decisions every day, decisions on, how do you welcome a survivor to your organization? That's a decision. How are you, if you're, in the admin ops finance part of it, how do we do this thing? It's a decision, right? If you're an advocate, if you're a legal advocate, if you're a counselor, you're making decisions every day. So it's true. I mean, we are bringing the perspective of leaders of our organization, but what would it look like in a workplace if we, like you said, acknowledged, hey, decision-making fatigue is a real thing. How do we minimize it or combat it together, like as a value of the organization, and destigmatize this idea that if you say, I'm so fatigued in making a decision, I can't make this decision, that it doesn't translate to...
You just can't do the job.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Where's that space where we can talk about what is a temporary thing or something that's impacted someone, and what do we do as an entire organization, right, to make sure that we acknowledge this, but then put things in place.
Yep. Some supportive measures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Would love to hear from folks if they have been thinking about this too, creative ways that maybe they are dealing with decision-making fatigue.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a great number of us experience it.
Yeah.
We just may not have had the space to openly talk about it in a supportive way.
Yeah. Well, we would love to hear from you. And if you haven't heard already, we have the Coalition's annual conference coming up.
We do.
Yes. And if you have not, by the time this podcast comes out, it will still be before the annual conference. And we will be talking about many things. Might not be decision-making fatigue, but many things that support folks. So before we end today's podcast, we want to invite you to head over to our website, www.mcedsv.org. And if you haven't registered for our conference, please register. A lot of people will be in space. We'll have a lot of topics that are relevant to advocates, leaders in our fields, survivors, folks that support survivors. So we invite you to do that.
And we can't wait to see you.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.